This video is going to talk about how to do the mattress stitch to join two panels together for the cleanest join that I've found. Now what I've gone and done is added stitch markers to my first stitch and my last stitch, and I've only done 10 rows. But you're going to see the V's, and that's what we're going to be using. And I did the same with this one, and you're going to see that when you turn your final row, because this side would be my left side, you want the back ones. If you look at it front on, it looks like these ones could be, but you want the back ones. So you're going to have to turn it on its side and look. You're going to put your stitch markers through them, and you're going to skip this. This is your slip knot. You want to make sure that you don't get this one, and you'll see that your tail's coming off of here. You are going to use that one to ultimately, when you do this, you're going to have a little gap down here. You're going to use that tail and weave it in here, and it will suction that together. And the same with this top. This strand right here will go into there and pull it together. And I'm going to use a contrasting color. Now what we're going to do is we're going to put these back to back. So back to back, they're going to face each other, and you can see the stitch marker here and the stitch marker through the V. And what we're going to do is I'm going to use a contrasting color so that you can see what's going on. Even if you use a contrasting color, you have the colors in the panels that are a little bit different, you're really going to be hard pressed to see the contrasting color. So for instance, if I had a red stitch in here and a red stitch in here, but I still used white, you're not really going to be able to see this. So what we're going to do is we're going to start from the back, and we're going to go under those two loops, and we're going to pull our color through. And then we're going to do the same thing. We're going to go back to front, and we're going to pull this through. Now I like to keep mine kind of loose. I don't want them too tight. You're not stitching this together like you're sewing. It'll get tight here in a minute. So what you're going to do is you're going to go up to the next one, and you're going to go through both back loops from back to front, from back to front, next stitch up, back to front, and back to front. And you're going to do this all the way up. Now if you have really long panels, you want to make sure that you have enough yarn. You might want to do maybe a third of the panel and then tighten your yarn, and then do another third of the panel, just to make sure that you get a nice tight join. And sometimes you have to pull your yarn down a little bit just to make sure that you have, the right, because that yarn can sometimes cover up the stitch on the right. But you're going to go back to front and back to front. And since I only did a panel of 10 stitches, I want this one. And back to front, and back to front. And for some reason, if this isn't right, you can rip this out by just grabbing it and pulling it, and I'll show you how to do that too. Like I said, these are the last two stitches of my 10 where my stitch markers are. This is the top stitch where I bound off, and where you bound off and cut your tail, you're going to have this tail because you're sewing two panels together. So this tail I like to take and weave through here, and it will pull these corners together, but we're not at that point yet. I like to do that after I make sure I have my panels all lined up right. So this is what we're going to have, is this. this is not what it's going to look like when it's done. I like something that's you can't see. So what we're going to do is you're going to grab this top strand, and I like to hold mine. And like I said, if your panels aren't right, I'll show you how to rip that out in a minute. We're going to pull this tight, and you're going to keep working your way down until you get about halfway. And you can pull through the whole way down if you want to, but I like to do my bottom and cinch it up too. A lot of people can grab this and they pull it, but I don't like to do it that way. And like I said, when you pull this and it's tight, you'll see your bottom strand come through. Now this is done with green, and like I said, you can barely see the green in here. Now, when you're done with that, you cut your strands and you can weave them in. And like I said, when you're done with this and you have cut this strand off, you'll take your darning needle and you will pull this. This is your first loop that was my bind off. You're going to take your darning needle and go through there and pull that, and this will bring all of your corners together. The same with this one down here. You're going to use your darning needle and go through this stitch right here, and it'll pull it so that your edges, because a lot of times people look at it and they think this isn't, this isn't done. It doesn't, it's too far apart. But that tail, when you weave it across into here, it'll cinch that corner up nice and neat when you go into that first stitch here. And I'm not going to weave because we're going to rip this apart, but I'm just going to go from front to back, and I'm going to remove these 2 stitch markers to get them out of the way, and I'm going to pull that, and you can see that brings, your two corners together so that the ends will match up. You need to, sometimes I got to play with it a little bit if I want it perfect. And then a lot of times I go back this way with it because it seems like it helps the corners. And the same here, I would grab this first stitch and then weave my way back. Now, if I didn't like this, it's something didn't line up or whatnot. I just, I didn't like how this come out. My stitches are off, and I get to the top and I realize that I missed a stitch or whatnot. All you have to do is grab the top of your project, and I put my hand on it, and you just take that string and you're just going to pull, and I left a long tail. You're just going to pull and it's going to come right out, and you're just going to pull the fabric apart, and there you go. You're back to where you started. And that's how easy the mattress stitch is for joining panels. And I seem to really like it because it gives you a nice close stitch, and even using a green cast contrasting yarn up against this white, you can't see it in the end, and it seems to be what I like. Everybody does theirs different. This may not be what you like, but this is how I do mine. Thank you for watching.